But now here we are. Pick ban coming up for game number 5. EDG versus FPX, and EDG have elected to be on the blue side. Jungle picks here already banned, and Lyric, both Udyr and Hecarim have been taken away as a first pick.
Yeah, that is a nice adaptation that FPX made, right? FPX didn't do this the last time they were on red side. They didn't ban out the Hecarim. They gave that one over to JJ, and JJ just completely took over the game. Bans also changing slightly for EDG since the last time they were on the side. Last time they banned out the Orianna. This time they took out the Lilia. So Volibear looks like he is the highest profile jungle. We still have the Nidalee, which we haven't seen this series yet, but we do know both players can play it.
As the Nocturne instead.
And we're finally getting it.
I mean, this has been banned a couple of games, but it's fallen through draft the others. So the fact that we get a Game 5 Nocturne, which is still a flex, ladies and gentlemen, has been played in the jungle, this is a question mark for now.
And I really like this from EDG because when we're talking about, hey, how do you get Flandre on a matchup that he's comfortable with? Taking as many flex picks as you can, making FPX have to guess where champions are going. And FPX also going back to comfort, right? The Tristana is open but wants to go towards the Kai'Sa instead. I think it's, by far LWX's most comfortable champion. And Viper this time around says, hey, I'm going to play the anti-dive AD carry because that's what Xayah is all about. It's all about being able to outplay, kite out, use that ultimate against heavy dive compositions, which FPX's first 3 picks are all about.
Yeah, that full-on dive, right? You have the Sylas, which not necessarily blind Lyric, but maybe an ability to counter the Nocturne. Take the ult for yourself as well with the Paranoia. So we have a very different draft. We've got solo laners around as a potential on EDG's side, and now more banning away as we've seen every other game. The Rise, the things like the Orianna we've talked about, the Volibear jungle now taken away as a possibility by EDG.
And I expect FPX to also ban out the Orianna. You have a really good ball carrier comp with the Nocturne and the Alistar. And again, the lane is manageable. Oh, they actually ban out the Zoe. The lane is manageable. You are going to fall down a bit in CS. You do have a bit of use for ultimate, but I guess instead wanting to ban out a champion like Zoe where she can bully you harder, you actually get no value out of her ultimate. It hasn't been a champion we've seen much of in playoffs, and Scout hasn't played it all that much, but still, it is a champion that we know Scout plays.
I think you mentioned it in here. Possibilities are endless, as we know the drafting for both these mid laners can be quite wide. EDG final ban is what? Set in the end. This is what FPX was successful on their blue side games. Nuguri ran away up in that top lane with the help of TN, so get that ban. And in the end of the day, what do FPX want to hover here? It's been a TN favorite.
It's going to be the Olaf. Yeah, I think it definitely should be the Olaf. When we go through the tier list of what has been taken away and what is still open, this is really, that's all that's left. We highlighted the Nidalee earlier, but still, you've already locked in the Sylas, so you don't want to go too AP heavy with the fact that you already have both Sylas and Kai'Sa. You are going to pick up the Olaf. They already do have a bunch of CC on their side as well, so that Ragnarok is going to come in clutch. And for the side of EDG, we already highlighted the Orianna. It can get up in this matchup. Scout knows it quite well. He played it 2 times against Knight on the reverse side with the Sylas himself. Now it's going to be a question of what EDG take in the top side, because I don't really expect them to just blindly put Nocturne top.
Yeah, you're going to create options. I mean, we find out now at the very least, right, is, oh, this again? Now, people might have missed out. I don't care if this is picked or not. Flandre played Sejuani in the top lane. So if this gets locked, it is not necessarily jungle, still playing with the flex potential.
So if they do this, I think what FPX are going to do is they're going to put Sylas up against Sejuani, because that is a free lane for you. You're going against a tank. You get a lot of value out of her ultimate. You get to scale up right alongside her. It is a lane that is playable by the Nocturne because you have Spell Shield for the Abscond Abduct, and you have a lot of early push as well. So I think you're right. I'm actually really interested to see where this goes, because I think that's what EDG's plan was. It's like, hey, if they, for whatever reason, send the Sylas top, we'll put Nocturne up there and do Sejuani jungle, but maybe without knowing, they're just going to say, hey, JJ, you man the Nocturne, Flandre mans the Sejuani, and Doinby is going to go back onto this Akali pick.
Looks like it for now. Let's just watch it and wait for the final lock-in, right? I love the logic here, Lyric. It makes perfect sense, but good here for the side of Nuguri if this is how things stay. Doinby's already played the Akali within this series. Flandre's already shown us within LPL playoffs that he can flex around with something as crazy as a Sejuani top. And ladies and gentlemen, in Game 5, Flandre does it again. Sedge top, and it's going to be Nuguri onto the Sylas as well.
And exactly, just tons of exciting champions. Surprisingly, Sejuani is Flandre's like 3rd or 4th most picked champion in Korean solo queue. So it's actually a champion he is very well practiced on.
And it's a great way to finish. I mean, there's nothing more to say than, yes, he's practiced on it. He's practiced on so many crazy picks. But Flandre's that kind of top laner who has a wide champion pool, who is potential to pick anything. And here against Nuguri, he wants to flex on what he did towards top esports, which was nullify the lane and be a huge teamfight engage tool. Lyric, I'm going to get you to explain the comps a little bit more detail as we get on in, but I want people to remember how long it's been. EDG, it's been 1,083 days. I know you're sick of me saying that, but it's been since 2018 spring against RNG that EDG made it to the finals. For FPX, it was against RNG in 2019. It's been so long for both these teams. Let's go. Breaking the curse as we enter Summoner's Rift. 1,083 days. Game 5 is going to break that for EDG, whereas FPX, they've only ever made it to one other grand final within the LPL. That was against RNG in 2019 summer, and yes, Europe, you know what happened at 2019 Worlds when they won the finals here. So again, it could be a good sign for either of these teams. Take that favoritism into the finals, rather, Lyric. At least you'd be favorited, I mean, if you got there. And it has been such a journey, this split. It has been such a journey, this series. I'm glad it comes down to this. Welcome to Nocturne Jungle. Welcome to Sejuani Top. Silas here for Nuguri. And Lyric, where do you want to start in such a important final game?
This is going to be all over the place. I think these drafts are so interesting. You look at Flandre going back onto a pick that is completely fine with absorbing punishment. He's going to be useful no matter what, just with the amount of CC he is able to provide. But, you know, you move over to FPX's comp. It's like, okay, very clear goal, very clear identity when you take Silas and Akali. It's about punishing immobile backline carries. But the thing is, you know, Xayah has the protection from her ultimate that we talked about. You have the paranoia from the Nocturne, which can also really dissuade that from happening. And then EDG, they have a fine time with if they can find that front-to-back team fight. I actually don't think JJ has a clear target he can ult onto. It's going to be LWX, but I feel like the most important part of JJ in this composition is like, hey, the flank comes out for FPX, you drop the paranoia, Viper gets time to reposition, you find the picks, you find the front-to-back team fight that you need. So again, flanking, side laning for the side of FPX like we saw earlier, this front-to-back team fight from EDG that has tools to deal with the flanks that FPX can put out.
I like that, though. The angles from FPX and EDG front to back. I'll keep that in mind as we progress through the game. Let's take state of the lanes here because it's already a hard push here from LWX and Crisp on the Kai'Sa on the Rel. For Doomby in the mid lane going up against the Orianna. Of course, we talk a lot about range in the early levels for Akali. Meanwhile, on this top side, Nuguri doing a good job of punishing Flandre on this Sejuani top. Nuguri has gone for Conqueror in the lane while it is Flandre with the phase rush instead of anything super defensive.
I mean, this is what we would expect out of both because we actually saw Flandre run the phase rush in his last matchup. The thing is, that was against Agragas. He did fall behind because of the amount of pressure he faced, but against a Silas against tanks is totally fine because you get a free laning phase. You get to take that Conqueror instead of something like the Fleet Footwork where you do have to accept a bit of punishment. You also do have a lot of value from the Sejuani ultimate, right? Sejuani ultimate, the Paranoia, LWX.
Almost
just
going
to get chunked, but...
Yep.
Yeah, I think you have 3 high-profile ultimates on the side of EDG that Silas will do well with.
It'll be something that we have to watch with Nuguri because if he has that free laning phase, you can see already building aggressively straight into the Amplifying Tome and Dark Seal in the first back as well. Tien not on that side of the map and actually backing on a ward. So full information here for EDG while JJ made the first back in about a camp less. After JJ was able to pick up that topside scuttle. Just note that JJ has a longsword and a dagger versus the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, which is a common pickup for our LPL junglers, especially in the early game.
Yeah, you're right, going to go more towards these combat stats rather than, you know, being able to traverse his jungle quicker. But kind of talking about where we expect these jungles to play towards, JJ does have opportunities top, just with the ultimate coming out from the Sejuani and being able to follow up, trying to get a pick onto Nuguri. But I wouldn't be too surprised to actually pay more attention towards bot side, not only because it's EDG, but for the fact that, like, hey, you have the Alistar engaged to go in, you follow up as the Nocturne. Viper should never be under any threat, especially at that level 6 mark.
Oh
right?
my god.
Ooh! That's
Flash. Flandre's out of the lane, he has teleport, but this already talked about as a free lane. Lyric, it interrupted you, but for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, nice aggression coming out for Nuguri. Flandre doing fine in CS, though, but still gonna hurt a little bit that he doesn't have that flash available. Nuguri gonna have to respect a little bit because he doesn't have any mana, still does have a Biscuit. But for FPX in the early game, because we talked about EDG, it's going to be about mid-jungle, right? We saw this earlier.
It's an invade from Tien. Undertow connects, but now he's got the help of Scout coming through. Smite will heal him up. Doomby going in as well. There's the Shuriken flip. There's no assassination potential, but Jeja doesn't care. Undertow after Undertow. Doomby flashes on in. He wants the kill, and he secures first blood. Tien now on the run, and EDG can't catch up.
In Game 5, going back to the dynamic duo of Tien and Duinbi, you highlighted it, the invade. Duinbi easily able to follow up, pushing the aggression to the max. It doesn't matter that JJ flashed. Duinbi was willing to follow, gets out scot-free. 1 kill on the Akali, already going to get that Hextech Alternator. TP's right back to lane and didn't lose anything.
This is what we've seen already in the series. Duinbi getting in a comfortable position thanks to Tien. I want to point out that if you don't remember from previous years, Tien, one of the best Olafs we know, can sync up with Doomby at any time. As there's the Assassin's Mark. Shuriken flips there, but Jungle's here! Doomby's out! It's clean as hell, Lyric!
And this is a champion we highlighted. We wouldn't expect to see it from Duinbi. Before today, he had only played it 5 times in his career. He was 1-4 on the champion. Now he is 2-4 after the game earlier in this series. And he's getting ready to pop off. Scout especially is going to be under so much threat, right? We highlighted, hey, Viper has the self-peel potential, but Scout doesn't have that same luxury.
Doomby now in a comfortable position, Lyric. We were already talking about the Hextech Alternator thanks to Tien before, but the solo kill right in the face of Jeje. Like, you just don't care, and Doomby on carries. Not many people would associate him with this Akali. You and I talked about this, but here, the mechanics, you can say it again.
Yeah, he's going to walk forward, goes in with the ultimate straight into the E, procs the Q, and just, R2 out.
After he's out as well, Lyric. Just spams down the top jungle timers. Classic Doomby.
Yep, you wouldn't expect anything less. Doesn't matter what kind of high-pressure situation this is. He is well-practiced in that. This is going to open up an early dragon for the side of FPX. And Duinbi staying relatively even in farm as well. And we said, hey, you know, Akali, not the strongest champion in the early game, but still, you have the stronger jungler in this matchup. He's enabled it well. He got his own advantage. And again, now we're going to see how do FPX keep transitioning this across the map. EDG are already trying to counteract it. They're getting vision around the mid lane. You can see defensive wards on the bottom side of the map behind their red buff. And now more vision trying to scout out Tien because they know that's what he's going to try and do, right? You're going to hover mid. Yep. You're going to try and get Scout Splash. You're going to roam with Duinbi to opposite sides of the map.
But we also know that now that Paranoia is up and available, you have to be scared if you're Duinbi if you push too far. Of course, we already talked about, targets for him is going to be quite difficult.
I mean, the thing, though, is, right, you're in Akali. You have Shroud up. Paranoia comes out. You drop that Shroud. You E away. You are chilling, man. You are completely fine against this Nocturne. Again, the one who's going to feel a lot of threat from Nocturne is going to be LWX later on. Yep. Nuguri will right now, just for the fact that Flandre does bring all the CC. JJ brings the damage. If Tien is there or if Duinbi can respond, then I think that is definitely a winnable 2v2 for the side of FPX. But FPX is going to keep playing around where they're strong, which is the mid lane, but Mako's already here.
Yeah, he is. He's the first one here. Viper's even moving as well. Look at where LWX is. Crisp is joining the play. Ladies and gentlemen, a 5v5 in Game 5. Straight with the Paranoia. Ragnarok used. There's the Glacial Prison, but Mako gets low. Flashes away. Nuguri off to the side. Now he's going to be targeted as Viper sends out the feathers, but the Herald, who's going to secure it? The Eye there. Hit and exposed. Crisp picks it up with the Magnet Storm in the backline. That's big as Tien. Doomby, clean it up. It's too late for Scout. FunPlus Phoenix are flying again.
In a game 5 at 9 minutes, to be sitting 4-0-2 on this Akali. You pointed out JJ pops the paranoia. They try to buy time. They try to turn towards Naguri. 4 members on top of 1, but FPX find the engage. Crisp leads the charge. Duinby follows in, and still, they are the one to pick up the Team 5 victory.
That was insane.
3.5k gold lead, Asterix. 3.5k.
To put it on that fight there for FPX, they are insane, Lyric. 3.5k you mentioned, and we'll look at this explosion once again.
Yeah, you highlight. We see Nuguri take the Sejuani ultimate, throws it out, locks a member down again. All of EDG turn towards the top side. They have 5 people there. They want to try and burst them up. A Crisp with disengage. Duinby following in immediately. We see the ultimate come out into the E, takes on a member. Also, Viper uses the Feather Storm early, does come back down, and FPX just able to clean that one up. Look at it. Not even 10 minutes in the Night Harvester build. Scout's gonna have to pay so much respect. He still has the flash up, luckily, but Scout's not really gonna walk past the point he is in his lane right now. You don't want to get too far from turret. You're always gonna be under threat. Duinby's ultimate already almost back available.
Just crazy. Seeing a Night Harvester on an Akali who's got a level advantage at 10 minutes into the game is beyond insane at this point, to use that word ever so abrasively. Blue buff goes to Tien at the end, I think. Unlucky, but Duinby so far ahead in this lane shouldn't affect him too much. While pings are going towards the top side, Lyric, EDG need a response, because let's be realistic, when it's so far behind at this early game with what we've seen in the series, it could be a done deal, but we know EDG, we know their macro, we know their ability to come back and try and find openings, and this game's become so dire to find exactly that.
I just want to move to the opposite side of the rift real quick, just to highlight why FPX are doing what they're doing, right? Because Viper doesn't have the Feather Storm. So Tien can just walk up, clear vision, and force Viper off this wave. He has to pay respect. Sure, multiple members of EDG do still have their flashes because they actually just got bursted in an instant in that last fight. They really didn't have any great chances to use them, but I really like this punishment of such an important cooldown like the Feather Storm.
Cooldown that we saw in the last fight, and as soon as it was down, everyone from FPX dove on in. That's going to be back up and available. Note that his heal's not there either. As things kind of settle out, the play fizzles out rather at that point as well, but I just love, look at the vision from FPX all on that bottom side. Control ward at red, control ward and try. Ward deep towards the Krugs that's going to spot out JJ here, so they have full jungle tracking.
And again, they forced him off a wave, so LWX also having a CS advantage. LWX very close to getting that first item, sitting a component up, has a serrated Dirk, for that Q evolve as well. And now for FPX, we expect them to just consistently hover towards that bottom side of the jungle. Both soul laners on both teams do have TPs if any skirmishes break out, but I don't need to say it. You know it, Asterix, the audience knows it. Any skirmish at this point in time is solidly FPX favored. Of
course, easy at this point as there's Glacial Prison for Glacial Prison. But out of jail free card comes JJ with lethal tempo, and they'll get Nuguri. A great start for EDG when everything went wrong.
Yep, they know that Dragon's coming up. They have to punish on the opposite side of the map where FPX will be. They know that FPX has been constantly hovering bot side, getting that vision. So they use that window because Nuguri did have to blow his flash in that last exchange. If Nuguri has flash, I actually don't think he's under too much threat, as we've already highlighted. Yep. And once again, we see Crisp and Tien forcing Viper off this turret, denying him more gold, denying him more XP, and getting LWX such a massive advantage.
He's just sitting here so calm as anything, going to spot them out in the brush as Viper takes that second skin, or rather Void Seeker. At the end of the day, look at this. Turret plating uncontested, continuing on. The next wave flying through, but another 160 solo gold for LWX, a 20 CS lead, and Viper's going to really start to feel it here, Lyric, and things going from bad to worse, right? Tien hovers down, shows himself on mid, and might even help Duinby next.
When you have a lot of Nocturne compositions in this current meta, a lot of them are like, you have Nocturne, you have other divers punishing immobile backline carries. And in those compositions, it is very good to get your Nocturne ahead, so he can exploit that, right? He can get ahead in items, he can get the Stride Breaker, he can follow up on the Fear, you can easily get the Randuins as well to shut down a lot of these crit ADCs that we see in this meta. But in this composition where FPX's comp isn't reliant on immobile backliners, right? You have 2 assassins jumping in, as well as a Kai'Sa who's able to follow up as well. That your advantage needs to be on your AD carry and your mid laner. So even getting Sejuani or Nocturne ahead, you know, which is not their choice. They're picking up kills where they can. They have to avoid FPX, but point stands, them getting kills doesn't really impact how these compositions will play out.
Not as much as we talked about with FPX, right? The solo laners especially, who just picked up first turret blood up in that top lane. Gold at 5,000 loot. You know, every time I know you're explaining good points about EDG, or at least what needs to happen. I wouldn't call it good. You know, we look at that top lane, oh, okay, that's getting punished as well. Oh, we look at bot, okay, that's getting punished too. We look at mid, oh, nothing happened because it's an Orianna and Doomby's still so far ahead of the curb. You're not seeing this right now, but it's 960 gold in just turret plating alone. The 6 kills add the rest of the gold. It's 2 dragons. It's a 3rd on the way. It's another Rift Herald that FPX should have control of. It's mythics everywhere with second items starting to be built. FPX hold in the palm of their hands their ticket right to the grand finals, and at 14 minutes of the game, early to be saying that, but still not very bold of a statement. There's the Rift Herald spawning, and they'll continue to look for control. So Lyric, Tien starts that off, and that's pretty much a done deal with Jeje back in his own jungle with a level disadvantage.
I like that FPX's bot lane also hovered but didn't fully commit because they're not going to lose out anything in the bot side. They did push in the last wave. It does look like LWX is... I'm not sure if he was like picking up small wolves or something or just checking for where Nocturne could possibly be, but they actually have vision in EDG's jungle, so they should spot him. And I feel like an important thing to note is that the more vision FPX can deny, you know, clearing out some of these wards, because EDG have a really good cheeky control ward in the bottom side jungle, if you notice.
Yep.
If EDG don't have vision, Doinby doesn't even necessarily need to rotate. If he just walks into his bot side brush or walks back, then both side laners of EDG have to pay so much respect, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just fog of war and denial of vision puts so much threat on the side of EDG from what Doinby can do.
And especially when you're at this point in the game, like, it's not just denial, it's also the advantageous position that you get as FPX, right? You don't know where is warded and where isn't because EDG risk walking into, you know, a pick, walking into a threat, an assassination. So deep wards in their own control, in their own jungle, especially against solo laners with teleport. Doomby doesn't have that right now, but Nuguri does. But when Doomby has that backup and available, another threat to add to the list. Lyric at this point, that ward remains for now. Doomby hasn't cleared it. He's actually just replaced his own control ward. So they will get a bit of jungle tracking, noting that they also have another ward in the river. So good vision here for EDG that realistically they shouldn't have. Will mean they know that FPX are going into their jungle again.
Thing is, Hysterics, if this was, you know, a match of Yu-Gi-Oh!, EDG are turned sideways. They are in defense mode, you know. You're not trying to walk into the jungle alone. You're not trying to walk into the river alone. Anytime any members of EDG walk, like, even into their own jungle or through river in dangerous positions, right, they at least seem to be grouped as, like, a 3 or 4 man core, in my opinion. It's way too dangerous. Get some defensive wards in your own jungle. Is Nuguri looking to potentially punish this, but Jeje, Flandre, Miko, they all know. They're ready.
Yeah, that defensive position continues here. Flandre moving around. Remember, he has the Iceborne picked up, or rather the Frostfire. Everfrost picked up, though, from Nuguri. That's a good little tool to move away as their Herald number 2 pushes into the mid lane, but doesn't hit the turret. But FPX have grouped as 5 right around the dragon spawning. They've already got 2 here, Lyric. They're going for number 3.
And the thing is, it might not be Season 3, but League of Legends is still a very snowballing game. Yeah. If you're the team with an advantage, you control all the options. The enemy team has to play, I don't even want to say more reactively, but they have, you know, less cards. They have less options to pick from because they always have to be thinking about, hey, what's your comp doing? What is your goal? So EDG, again, that's why it's all about defensive vision in their jungle. It's about trying to farm their own camps because FPX are going to be denying those, as we see here, and try to get into mid-game as solid of a position as you can. But with the fact that we're on Soul Point at 18 minutes, Hysterics,
it's hard.
That's tough.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is a Game 5 where, let's be honest, 4 games of this series have been so back and forth.
Hysterics, we have Stridebreaker Olaf as well. He's no fear, not going to go towards anything like a Gore Drinker, which, you know, you traditionally might see. He knows he's ahead. He's going to try and close the distance with the members of EDG, lock them down, and burst them out.
Stridebreaker is something we've seen back and forth, but you're right. You know, this is a lot
not
of people.
Much.
Not as much, right? It's been like a lot of Gore Drinker, and I think we...
Even after the Gore Drinker nerfs.
Yeah. So a nice little itemization point. While we are talking about items, Lyric, 2 items here for Doomby, 2 items here for LWX. Is that a surprise? Of course not. I also want to point out, Scout has gone for Everfrost on Orianna. He wants to live. He wants to survive, and I guess that is his itemization showing that.
He definitely does, and for the side of FPX, everything on the map right now is free, right? They take mid lane turret. They're going to start pathing into topside river, push into EDG's topside jungle. I feel like you should get some control wards down. Doinby's TP is about to be up, so he's fine playing in this lane. If anyone remembers the days of where Akali was absolutely busted in like 2019, one of the strengths of Akali is she can buy so much time in a side lane. You pull multiple members down, you pop the Shroud, you have the E, you have your flash available, you have outplay tools with your ultimate, and then for FPX, they get 2 choices. They either now have time to collapse, or they can make a play on the opposite side of the map.
Which they can even do before Doomby gets in any trouble, and like saying that FPX member will get in trouble this game is fake news. So Mako hovering behind, Doomby now pushing up, level 13 versus level 12 here in the mid lane matchup, while Nuguri in the top lane pushing in, LWX pushing in as well. These guys continuing to farm up, having a very controlled game after it went so wrong so early on. And yeah, it's slowed down, but this is just showing you how FPX have tempered their aggression, because they don't need to do anything else. They're writing FF in all chat. They're saying 15. It's 20 minutes into the game, and, you know, EDG obviously don't want to respect that. It is a pro game, and it's a game 5 where they're hoping that Viper gets some resources, and now that he's got the Essence Reaver, he's getting there, Lyric, but he's still a long way off.
For the side of EDG, it's looking rough, right? We at least have Frostfire Gauntlet out on our Sejuani. We have Mythics across the board. We have the strong 5v5 that we talked about, and sure, those defensive tools are still there, but like with the lead FPX has, even if they just kind of go in a bit egregiously, go in too early, they force that Featherstorm out, and then it is once again very hard for Viper to play.
Yep.
You're relying on peel from Mako and Flandre when FPX have multiple tools to get around your front line. The good thing for EDG is, even if they lose this, if FPX don't manage to troll, don't manage to throw, they keep playing this patient game where you look at it, right? They're playing around both sides. They're using their 1-3-1 pressure. They're hovering towards the objectives. EDG get another chance, right? EDG, if they lose, I don't want to count them out yet either, they still get to play against RNG.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what, it is going to be EDG versus RNG or FPX versus RNG, as that's the paranoia used by JJ. Might just be to look and clear away some of the vision around Baron. And yes, it is. That's what JJ does for his ult now. Just to make sure that EDG can recount some of the vision and make sure that FPX are not doing the Baron.
And it looks like potentially his ultimate will be up by the time Dragon's up. It's going to be very close, but yeah, very short for FPX. They're fine. I feel like the fact that Doinby got his Zhonya's is a massive power spike for him, right? Because you pop into the fight, you use your cooldowns, you pop your W, it buys more time for, you know, your Q, your E to come back up. Once again, pop the Zhonya's, buys time for your Q, W, E to come back up. Champions like Sylas, like Akali, are very cooldown and rotation based. So the longer you can buy times to get off more rotations of your spells, the harder you're going to carry a fight.
But down barrier also there as well, Lyric. Just note that we've got a little bit of MR in this Akali too, as teleports being channeled. Dragon, you mentioned, 20 seconds away here. Soul for FPX would further sweeten the deal. Here's the next TP from EDG. Tien lying in wait as Nuguri's there. He's stolen the Unbreakable Wills as Everfrost is just threatening. And there's the big raid boss in Doomby. Shuriken Flip so close to Flandre, but FPX now moving towards River and moving towards inevitability.
At this point, as EDG, I think you need to go for a flip. You need to go for a steal. Once they get Dragon low, drop that Paranoia, jump in, and just look for it. Because, again, at this time, I think...
There it is into the back, but he doesn't get it. There's Mountain Soul. JJ going to his death. 5 versus 4 in EDG. Like, boys, we're going to leave, but Doomby chases up. Viper on half L. Shuriken Flip. He's in again. The feathers fly. Doomby stunned up, but in goes LWX. FPX want to end it here, but the Shockwave is a good re-engage. But the problem is, FPX have so much more damage. You need to kill the Akali. You need to kill Nuguri on the Sylas. And Mako is unfortunately gonna be dinner.
When we saw Doinby go in as Mako, he's dead. We saw the 5-point strike do about 30% of Viper's HP. They have the soul. They're getting such a boon out of their resistances. I like that you highlighted the verdant barrier coming out for Doinby as well, because now that's also getting accelerated. Fondre trying to chase him out of the jungle, but I don't think he can do anything. Nuguri and Tien are so strong they can turn on him if they so please. But for the side of FPX, looks like resets are going to be coming out. They're going to set up for that Baron in the top side, and they have such a good turn if they want. Like, 24 minutes into the game, it's just too hard. I think this was the right call by EDG.
Yep.
You realistically can't win a fight against FPX, so bringing it down to a smite fight, bringing it to like a 50-50 or I guess slightly less because of the level disadvantage. As we now see here, Doinby does flash in, the 5-point strike comes out. Viper's already half HP, and sure, LWX does get a bit too ahead of himself, gets instantly bursted, but all the other members are so strong, and there's the Baron that we talked about.
Yeah, we're back. The Mountain Salt team now going for a Baron. Doinby in again, look onto JJ, attracted repel. This Akali is scary as he hits Scout on the way out. Baron secured, Mako goes in, but his team's not there. He'll die yet again, and FPX getting closer and closer to pretty much locking in the grand final.
I mean, at this point, it is all but guaranteed. They would need to massively run in one by one to give EDG a chance of getting back in this game, especially when they have this Baron buff. It's going to be so hard. FPX are choosing to play out through 2 lanes, but, you know, they do have a 1-3-1 comp. They could even send Nuguri bot and put maximum pressure onto the side of EDG. Maybe a choice is, oh, Nuguri goes in.
So
I think they want to have Nuguri around their core so EDG don't have any opportunities to find a pick onto LWX. So they are just going to keep this up, rotate towards topside once Doinby does push his tower down.
That'll be pretty quick. Look at the Baron doing work. Nuguri has the unbreakable will. Remember, he'll get knocked up by 3 people. It doesn't matter, but Viper's the next target. While LWX does enough damage over the wall. Doinby's going to follow as well. The Akali bopped the wave, re-engages. FPX can smell it. The grand final that they've been expecting to do. This is where they're coming into their pursuit. Right in front of EDG's base. FunPlus Phoenix are ready to fly again.
It's their first final since 2019 summer on such an unexpected pick for Doinby in the Akali. Everyone's popping off on the squad. Nuguri showing up, Tien's here, and they are doing so good.
FPX have made the run from round number 2. This team is not the first seed, not the second seed, like EDG are. And as they TP in, looking for the end since 2019 summer, where they went to Worlds, where they destroyed Europe. FPX are looking to make yet another grand final as Nuguri heals up ridiculously with the Kingslayer. EDG regen.
Oh.
It is not over yet. Nuguri's gonna die, and this truly is EDG's last stand.
I love how FPX kind of baited themselves in that one. They think they could end. Doinby even TPs in there like, hey, we got this. But that timers were about 20 seconds, 15 seconds at that point. So Nuguri's like, hey, we're going to end the game. I'm just going to jump in. We're going to see what happens as we go back in the replay. I mean, EDG try to find their chance, right? Doinby's off to the side. They technically have numbers advantage, but very easy for FPX to move in. Doinby comes over the wall. Amazing Magnet Storm by Chris. You force out the ultimate from Viper, but he's already chunked at half HP. JJ does find a pick onto Tien, but all the other members of FPX are so strong. LWX finishes that one off. Nuguri goes in to get Viper. And now, I mean, you just group bot, you push this in, you have supers in mid and tops. You don't even need to pressure those, right? It's just a matter of patience for FPX now. They just play it slow, even if they run it down a few times.
Yeah. Like, what's going to happen, right?
Still, exactly. They're still winning.
10k gold lead. It's going to grow even more. EDG lost 1 Nexus turret, and now towards the bottom. Nuguri's over the wall. The Frost doesn't connect. He's got the unbreakable will. He's going to manage the mid wave, while JJ sitting in base waiting to paranoia. Viper under threat yet again. Nuguri by himself. And this man, he's joined FPX. He wants no more than an LPL championship. And this fight would give him that opportunity in the grand finals. Turret now going to be pressured, and Lyric, look at the minions channeling in.
Just dive, Hysterics. FPX pull the trigger. Again, they have such a massive advantage. They have the shield from Mountain Soul. They have both Zanyas up as well. I think they're going to look for it.
Nuguri, this is where they're going to try and kill him. He's got the unbreakable will yet again, but the whole of EDG on him. Glacial Prison doesn't matter. They're burning down the turrets. FPX, fly, Phoenix, fly, as they're looking to take down EDG. Expectations be damned. Doesn't matter about first or second seed. When you're the Phoenix, you book your ticket to the grand final with 1 step away from MSI.
FPX in Game 5. They bet on Nuggery and they bet on Doinby, and it works out. Tien starting it off without invade. He trusts Doinby is going to follow up on that. They find the kill, and then Doinby goes back to lane, gets a solo kill on Scout. You were highlighting earlier, one of the best mid laners in the league. I think a lot of people were putting him top 2 with Fofo, and just an exceptional performance for, again, such a, I'd say, iconic player. I love that you're also talking about Nuggery, because can you imagine? You win the LCK, you win Worlds, you come and you win your first split of LPL. If he can pull that off, that will be absolutely historic.
It would be a statement for what is considered and what is the best top laner in the world. The man on your screen, alongside Doinby, right? Doinby on this Akali got fed early, carried through the mid yet again, as we saw with his other Akali game. I think there's one man we need to praise, Lyric. There's one man who started this aggression, that balls to the wall dive between mid lane turret at 5-6 minutes rather in the enemy jungle. Tien is back. Tien is 100% back.
Oh, the core of FPX is so strong. Tien, again, exceptional performance coming out in this series, especially obviously in the games they won. Just completely taking over the game. I also want to move to the bot lane for a little bit, because Crisp, some of the magnet storms in this game, we remember the one around Rift Herald where we had a full-on 5v5 at like 8 minutes. We weren't actually seeing that too much in playoffs. It seems like LPL teams were getting a lot better at being like, hey, we don't need a full 5-man rotate towards Herald. We're going to leave AD carry spot side. You know, we're going to respect whichever team has a stronger power spike. Didn't happen this time around. FPX finally engaged, and this feels like it has the same strengths that, you know, that 2019 FPX team did, where, you know, mid-jungle support synergy is insanely OP. You have, you know, one of the best top laners to ever do it. And then LWX is still allowed to be that X factor, that wild card who, you know, given room, some games he's going to pop off. Sometimes they're going to win 2v2 in lane. And, you know, he's always going to have a job that he's able to do. So FPX very deserved finals. And again, a team that we were all excited for last year, right? They came off a victory in 2019 from Worlds. We were excited seeing them come into Con. They didn't deliver on expectations. Tien had injuries. There were some synergy issues. It is so great to see them back in form with this roster.
And to take it all the way for FPX would be huge. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't see the bracket, FPX have made the run since round number 2. They were in single elimination in King of the Hill. They went through, and against JDG, they took him down. They then got into top 4 against RNG. They 3-0'd them. This is by no stretch of the imagination a run that no one expected, but more so it is a bit of a miracle run with a strong roster. So,
and we look at the damage hysterics, and it's like, you know, Nuggery, he did play Sylas into a tank, did get that free lane, but this did highlight the amount of damage he was able to output in these skirmishes and team fights, and just very deserved. It's so nice to see Nuggery succeeding in his first split. It's so nice to see FPX back on top, and now it's the question, right? Do you get this rematch, or do you get the rematch of the other team you beat, right? Because, heck, FPX didn't play top esports. They don't have to play top esports. FPX are now guaranteed to face one of the 2 teams they have already beaten.
That's right. Team like EDG, team like RNG, it's amazing. The 2 teams they've already beaten, Lyric. That point nails it on the head. I love that you bring that up. This is going to be a finals that I think a lot of people didn't see coming. I think it's a finals which a lot of people are going to favor FPX. FPX that were at the brink, backs against the wall. Lyric, game 4, they were down 2-1, and they've brought it all the way back, and they've cleanly beaten EDG in game number 5 in 28 minutes, and Raccoon diff, jungle diff. I think at the end of the day, we don't say things like that. We pay respect to EDG, because EDG gave us a great best of 5. I think EDG had some real shining moments. People like Scout, Jer, you know, Flandre had some great angles as well, especially on that Jace where he's now 6-0. I think this is one of those series where both teams are very well respected after putting on a bit of a show.
I agree, right? Sure, EDG lost today. I think there's some questions with that last draft that you can definitely ask yourself on how it played out. But at the end of the day, they were 1 game away from winning. So still 2 very close teams. If we do get a rematch, honestly, still have no idea what will happen. I'll probably still predict 5 games like I did today. But I would like to see EDG give more attention towards Flandre in the top lane, because we see when he's even when he's losing, when he's given no attention, Flandre almost always shows up, but he's put on the Sejuani, he's put on the Gragas. Even when he's put on the Jace, he's not really given any jungle attention, and it's like, hey, this feels like a roster that should be very dynamic in how they're able to play out. We've seen them play around mid, we've seen them play around bot, but we're still waiting to see how they play around top. Because when we talk about top and you're facing a team like FPX, who is not only willing to invest resources in Nuguri, but he is drafting those counter picks. He is willing to just take those knife fight 1v1s. It's like, hey man, this guy just ran the gauntlet. He styled on Zoom, he styled on Xiaohu, and now he had his way with Flandre. So I feel like for either RNG or EDG, Nuguri is the problem you need to find the solution to.
Yeah, Nuguri is the strength for sure, which is nice to say for FPX. Strong landing phase there, of course, against the Sejuani, but I think more so that he is hitting the nail on the head for expectations when he came to FPX. I think you and I were having a chat. Where did you power rank FPX, if you remember? It was so long ago. I think from memory, I put him in top 4, top 5.
I had them somewhere in the middle, I think. Like maybe 3rd through 6th. Yeah. I honestly can't remember. It was so long ago. But point is, we all jumped off the FPX hype train after Bo left the roster. Beichuan came in. Tien came in. And again, we still had question marks because we hadn't seen enough recent series of how he would perform. And you've already highlighted many times how they've run this gauntlet. So for FPX, I think they haven't even shown their full hand in this series. I guess maybe they have throughout playoffs, but the point is, right, we didn't need to see any of those Dwinby-esque picks come out. Sure, we got to see the Lulu, but we didn't see any of the Bruisers. We didn't see the Kled, the Renekton, the Rumble. There's still more for teams like RNG and EDG to combat if they end up facing this team again.
Got to look at their odds and how likely it is that FPX can put on a bit of a show against whoever matches them. Either way, I think much like Europe, how there's no G2, there's no Fnatic. In our finals, there's FPX. Not many people saw that coming, but it's not an RNG EDG final. It's not Top Esports. It's not JDG. A lot of changed perspectives across the world in many different regions. Here's your MVP. Is it any surprise here? Look, I think I need to be really, really solemn and look at Dwinby as an MVP is great, but Tien as well right there next to him in that early game.
Let's be honest, Tien got a ton of MVPs today. Again, I think you can look at any members of this top side and give it to them throughout the series. Chris had good performances, but I like this because in Game 5, in the most high-pressure situation, he follows up on that invade from Tien. He realizes he can go for that flash play and be able to get out like he does here, right? One misplay, maybe he goes down, maybe he ends up dying to turret, maybe Scout finds a kill. Like there's a ton of things that could happen where Dwinby can lose out. He takes out advantage and he goes for this play in the mid lane. He knows his limits on a champion we wouldn't expect. He's been practicing it a ton in solo queue like I highlighted. And even here, Chris might lead the charge, but Dwinby's the one who follows up and provides all the damage. Remember, EDG don't even get a chance to flash out from a lot of this damage coming out. It just, they are there, and next thing you know it, they are gone. So nice to see the captain of FPX getting that final MVP.
Yeah, the person who was the most consistent at the start of the split when FPX was still finding themselves. I know you were talking about the most consistent member, at least in the first 5 weeks before we went to a break, was Dwinby. And even though towards the end of the split, it changed around a little bit, Dwinby still has been, in my opinion, one of the highest talking points of FPX, especially in their wins.
Well, even think back to 2020, right? When we got to regional finals, we pretty much said, hey, this is Dwinby against the world. This is 1v5. Yeah, his teammates were not showing up. I think Crisp and LWX had a really bad year. We know Tien had injuries. Tien was struggling, and they weren't really incorporating Khan into the roster, right? So they kept using this Band-Aid of bringing Gimgoon in to where it's like, hey, Gimgoon understands his role better, plays these flanks better, and it didn't work out. So it's nice to see Dwinby getting his recognition this year.
It really is. I think the player that wants to return to Worlds, or at least go to MSI, rather. He's been to Worlds. Now he wants an MSI title, and I hope a lot of the EU fans, the NA fans, the LCK fans are watching this team because FPX have a lot to offer. And we looked at those drafts coming through. There's a lot of strengths, a lot of flexes, and I think more importantly,
hysterics.
A lot of power and solo lanes.
Speaking of international, speaking of LEC, let's not forget LEC finals are going to be on tonight. You know, Mad Lions against Rogue. I think we got to give the special shout out to this, right? Because this was, you know, this was a nice entree. I'm not going to call this an appetizer or warm up. This was an entree. You're going to go watch the LEC and you're going to get your second entree as well. So definitely don't miss it. Going to be a banger series. I'm sure both of us are going to end up watching it. And we're going to find out the team that we're going to send up against, you know, an FPX, an RNG, or an EDG.
That's right. We round things out, right? I mean, tomorrow we got NA finals as well coming up. So we go from LPL to LEC to LCS. And, you know, we've already got our LCK representatives. So our 4 premier regions are rounding out. Just a reminder to everyone as well, our finals are actually on the 18th. So we're one of the last regions to find out who our #1 seed is going to MSI. But yeah, we're looking forward to watching a bit of LEC after this as well. We are standing by and waiting until we get the go-ahead to send over to Wendy, because I'm looking forward to a bit of an interview here, Lyric. I'm curious about who we get. You know, we got Doomby last time, but we actually have Iris. Who was it, Lyric? I missed that one.
We got Tien.
Tien? Hey.
Yeah.
We big spenders here at the LPL. We're going to throw it over. It's not Wendy today, but it is Iris, who you all remember from the English broadcast and finals from last year.
Guys, I'm Iris here for the interview translation. And we're having Tien, the jungler from FunPlus Phoenix. You're taking a ticket to the grand finals. How are you feeling right now? To be honest, winning this best of 5, we're pretty happy. And yeah, I'm very excited to get into the finals. You're faced off against EDG, which was on their momentum recently. So, did you expect it would be a 3-2 today? What score would it be in your expectation? Because we 3-0'd RNG in the last best of 5, and they 3-0'd Top Esports in their last best of 5. So we thought that we were pretty close. And since we won today's best of 5, then I thought our form is slightly better than them. And you locked in Akram in game 1 around the Dragon Pit and has synergized pretty well with Akali and Zed. Then ace your opponent. What was the shot calling like at that time, and who was the shot caller? Because we saw they invaded our red buff, and our solo lanes had teleports, so it was a pretty viable for us to take the team fight. The last game, you actually got caught by the enemy mid jungle, and Doibi was on his way. Then can engage immediately. What was the shot calling at that time? I felt like I can outplay my enemies, so I just call my teammates. And five of you were having a team fight with the enemy team in the enemy team's base. So why did you, can you tell us more about that? Because we were a little bit hyped and we got a lot of advantage, so we were thinking about like we don't need to think about too much just to perform well. It seemed that the blue side secured more victories so far. So what's your opinion? I think it's very crucial to pick sides in games, but it's not it's not the key point of winning. Since we still won when we were on the red side, it really just depends on your form. A lot of fans found that the summer name of your Korean server was with the meaning of getting another trophy. So, what's the real meaning of it? well, the meaning of my ID just have a very similar meaning of my last summer's ID. The last question from our audience. Do you like the kitty of LWX? And do you think you will get one too, maybe? Well, you know, this is a little kitty, so it might be a little bit noisy when it sleeps. So it will be a future plan. And congratulations to FunPlus again. I'll pass back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the interview, Iris. And I love we end with the cat question there for Tien. A nice way to round out, and it's good, you know, talking to Tien, especially from the crowd perspective. I know a lot of people were interested in how he's doing and how he was, you know, kind of readapting or at least readjusting to FPX after being gone for half the split.
Yeah, you know, I think there's been a lot of question marks around Tien, right, with his health, his performance, kind of how the team's doing. So I think it's very fitting that, you know, we get to interview him, especially after he comes back, and again, he's been completely smurfing in a lot of these series. He's been the driving force for FPX's wins and resurgence. Now you're heading back into a final again. The only time FPX have gotten to the finals, they won it, and then they went on to win Worlds. So
one appearance,
I feel like FPX are feeling really good right now.
They really are. It's a great way to round out. I'm glad we got the Game 5 lyric. Feels really good, man. And as we look at the bracket, ladies and gentlemen, FPX are our first team to secure the spot in the grand final here. It's more exciting than Carlos taking a bath. Let's be quite honest. We'll wait to bring that one up. I know I've been told that, you know, of course we advertise the LEC going into that in an hour and 40, but it feels real good at this point to talk about FPX and their success. As look at that run. Versus RA, versus JDG, versus RNG, versus EDG. FPX have done it.
That's 4 best of 5s in a row. And again, at the end of this, if FPX do win the champion, you get to say, hey, FPX won 5 best of 5s in a row. They completely ran a gauntlet. Like, they were absolute monsters. And no one can question whether they deserve this or not, right? There's no flukes. There was no, hey, this was only single elim. No, they played through a single elimination into a double elimination bracket and took it all. And it is very deserving. I think also to remind people, April 13th will be our next best of 5. It will be me and Sir Munchables on that series to deliver you the fun between a very historic matchup.
That's right. I mean, EDG, RNG, one of the most historic in the LPL. They have the biggest rivalry, and we always do a tally of their championships. But one will be going home, and one will be matching up against FPX, who you already said have been beaten. No matter what, EDG or RNG have both been beaten by FPX. So going into finals, FPX have a bit of favoritism naturally from our fans, I'm sure. But that'll be coming up on the 13th. So tomorrow is a rest day, ladies and gentlemen. But don't worry, you'll be able to roll into the LEC, roll into the LCS. A nice way to kind of round out Lyric. A nice way to round out my time on the LPL, at least for this split. It has been a pleasure casting with you as always. Pleasure casting with our whole team, even our guest and Frost coming in as well. It was an absolute treat. Big thank you. It's always great having you, sir, and a great way to round out and at least finish my time here.
Hysterics, you are an absolute GOAT. Thank you.
Means the world, sir. That's it for my show. I'm done for the rest of the split, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be watching at home, watching from chat with the rest of you as well. Big thank you to Lyric, as always. Thank you to the chat, as always, too, and our English production. It is bye for now, but not forever. I'll see you next split.